All right, the first official Producer Fury podcast. My name is Esteban. If you don't know me, I offer one-on-one mentorship to producers and help them make an extra income from selling their beats and getting artists as clients. I'm with Thomas today, who is also a producer. He actually goes back with the creator of Producer Fury. His name is Fabian. If you guys aren't familiar with him, he actually met him before Producer Fury was created. It was just an idea when he met Fabian. So, with that being said, nonetheless. I'll let Thomas introduce himself. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how the journey has been as a producer.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. So yeah, my name is Thomas. I'm from the Netherlands, born and raised over here. I always dreamed of being a producer, like I always been watching t videos on YouTube with producers making beats from scratch. I was always fascinated by that process. But yeah, it took me a while to pick it up myself, Like I think growing up, I was pretty uh, scared and didn't really have enough faith in myself to like really follow my dream. I was always afraid of like failing or like I won't make it anyways, these kind of thoughts. So I put it off for a long time and just follow the traditional path of like, getting your education, like a regular office type job. But when I graduated, I was like, this just ain't it for me, man. Like I just knew it. My soul told it, my so I could feel it. And yeah, then that was the time that I made the decision, to follow my dream, become a producer. So I started from scratch and just started watching some YouTube tutorials and trial and error, man. Lo and behold, like a couple of years after that, we're here.
Nice. I mean, I think a lot of producers go through that, especially when they want to take it serious, especially people who are in school. You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah,
think, especially nowadays, the traditional route isn't going to school. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure,
yeah.
like, what, 5, 6 years ago, the best route was to go to school, and, but we all have the urge, especially when we're like creatives, like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that. So I want to ask very quickly, what were you going to school for exactly?
hmm Yeah, I started off in high school with a laws, bachelor degrees in laws,
Hmm.
and after I graduated from that, I went to university and I did public administration, which is like um, learning how they govern countries and like the top governmental type of stuff, and finished that too. So yeah.
So, I mean, does that ever like come into play for you? Because it's like, I mean, law and public administration is so different from just like being creative and making beats. Do you think
Yeah.
you took anything from that and like apply it to being a producer now?
I think the law degree can really still come in handy in the coming years, because um, like next to the besides all the creative stuff, like there's a lot of laws that come into play with being in the music industry, like you gotta sign contracts, you gotta really know what you sign, get your business straight, uh, handle your publishing, your royalties, all that kind of stuff. So I think that, yeah, I think that it can come in handy. It will come in handy, in the future, definitely. Yeah.
I didn't even think about that. That's kind of crazy. I think most producers, they just make music. I don't even think most producers who release right now are even like doing splits and licensing and stuff like that. So that's just like a whole nother ball game in itself. Like, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? I feel like
definitely.
maybe things aligned for you. You went to one thing and then ended up
Yeah,
doing what you truly loved, but it still worked out in
ex-
the end. So what
exactly. Yeah.
year were you like, I'm gonna go all in? Like, how long have you been doing it?
That was like I graduated in 2018.
Hmm.
Yeah, I would say a couple of months after I graduated. So like at the end of 2018, I really made that decision, Yeah. So that's been like, yeah, man, it's been 8 years, damn, like
It's
seven,
been
8 years.
eight.
It's crazy,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, no, that's bro, that's 8 years of grinding, man, especially like
Yeah,
perfecting your craft when it comes to producing.
yeah.
So for you personally, what was like the highest point for you and what's been like the lowest point for you
Ooh, that's a
since
good
2018?
question. I think the highest point definitely was my first placement.
Mm,
So I managed to link up with a guy from London. His name is Tino Kamal, and he heard one of my beats and sent it to one of his female artists that he knew in Brazil, over in Brazil. So they both liked it, and they both jumped on the song, and they put it out not long after. So that my first placement was a single with a Brazilian and a British artist, and also yeah. So that was definitely a milestone, getting your first placement, and also one that really, sounded good. Like the artist really came through and stuff, yeah. And the lowest point, yeah, that's a more difficult one, I think. I think it's just those days. I think there's more, like there's multiple points, There's always gonna come a time when you're like, I don't got what it takes, Do I have what it takes, or am I just fooling myself, Like, who am I kidding? I can't do this stuff, and like the chances of making it are so small. Like the moments that those thoughts really pile up and get a hold of you, I think those are the low points, So I've had multiple, times that I had those. Like I still get those thoughts from time to time. So yeah, those are the lowest points, I would say, definitely.
Yeah, and I don't think the lowest points ever stop coming. Like they don't.
They
Not
don't.
even if you're at the pinnacle of like the industry of a producer. Like you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Especially at the
yeah,
top.
yeah.
So I want to learn more about like how you even got into those placements. Was it just like by luck? Did you reach out to somebody? Like how did that all pan out? How did it start?
I think like there's multiple factors. You could call it luck, but you could also call it like being prepared for the right moments. Like I think it's consistency and just keep reaching out to people, and also like making sure you market and brand yourself the right way, like getting your beats like your best beats, on Instagram with like a short snippet, promote that stuff, get it out there, and try to make try to find artists yourself, but also try to make artists find you, like hear your sound, and that's the way it happened. So I just started posting some beats. I didn't even like my Instagram wasn't professional at all at that time, but I was just posting like some beats with some dumbass thumbnails, type beats. And yeah, one guy, that was the guy from London. He just messaged me and he was like, "Yo, bro, like your beats are crazy. I want to work with you, long term." And he really believed in me, And yeah, that really helped me too. He really boosted my confidence in myself too. And yeah, um, that's how the first placement came to be, man.
Did you feel like you were personally ready, like on a skill level, when you got that placement?
I do, because I think like the beat that he chose um, was my favorite too. I think it was one of the hardest I've made too. Um, I do think the mix was really lacking at the time. Like the mix was really lacking. Definitely, I would have, if I would made that same beat today, would be yeah, at least sonically much better, But luckily, he had his own engineer, which was pretty experienced, So I sent him all the stems, and he could still polish up like that horrible mix that I did, pretty
Yeah.
pretty well, pretty well. So that saved my ass that day, I think. So yeah, ready. It's kind of hard, I ask myself the question a lot, like, am I ready? Am I ready? And um, the question and the answer's almost always like, I don't know, like I don't know. I can go in the studio right now and make something incredible, but I can also fumble, like it's really, yeah, it's really difficult, So I just keep staying consistent and like try to become as comfortable as possible, creating from scratch and trying to, cater to the artist and all that kind of stuff. So at that time, I was like starting to become ready, let's say.
Mm.
Yeah, just on the edge, Yeah.
Definitely. I can hear that you were starting to become ready because like you were your own worst critic for a second. You're like, yo,
Yeah.
if I did that now, that the
Yeah.
mixing and the engineering would have been way better. So
Yeah.
that's interesting. I feel like being a producer isn't just making beats. It's like
It's
mixing
not.
and mastering is a huge part of it.
Yeah.
So like, can you dive into that? Like, how long did it take you to get to where you're at now, and how important as a producer do you think it is to like learn and know how to mix and master?
Damn, I think it's very, very important, because I think like a good mix and master can make or break a beat. Um, uh, I came a long way because like I think creatively I was way ahead of like my technical side, you know? Like my technical side was really lacking in the beginning, so I had really uh, trouble yeah, getting my mixes right. Like my low end, the bass, you know, getting that bass under control, getting it loud in your face, but not overpowering, you know, like finding that balance and leveling everything. And damn, that took me like years. Like I just came to the point that I was like right now in the past couple of months that I'm like, yeah, and now it doesn't sound too bad, you know, my
Mhm.
mixes. So that took me the longest, I would say. Yeah, it's a lot of trial and error, a lot of talking to engineers, you know, asking for help, other producers, and that kind of stuff. But I think it's really important. Like you can have the best beat in the world, but if it's not mixed correctly, like
Mhm.
it just doesn't hit.
Is that how you learned like so quickly because like you're like talking to other producers and other people that probably know how to mix and master, or like how was the learning process for you? Was it a lot by yourself or more like talking to a lot of people and a little bit of yourself?
Yeah, I think most by myself. I think it was
Mm-hmm.
a lot of trial and error by myself, you know, just trying the best that I could with the information that I had at the time, listening back and noticing things, you know, like how come my bass just feels thin or isn't hitting, or you know, oh, the snare is way too loud, or this or that. Why are my melodies sounding so, you know, um, unprofessional compared to like the big professional producers, you know. And then going back to the drawing board, like let's see what's on my, you know, on my mixer track. Am I doing too much? Am I doing too little? You know, a lot of trial and error. And just the past couple of year, I would say I'm really getting in touch with like some professional guys to ask more questions, but that's more advanced stuff. I think most of
Mm-hmm.
the stuff I learned myself just by trial and error. Yeah.
What do you think is more important, like as a producer, like the marketing or like having the sound?
Unfortunately, the marketing. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
yeah. Like I think in this day and age,
Mm-hmm.
getting yourself out there is way more important than having some crazy sound. Um, which for me is like kind of a bummer, you know. Like I think
Mm-hmm.
sound above everything. Like I think that's most important. Um, but yeah, like I understand, you know. It's the way the game works. Everything's online right now, and yeah, but yeah, I try to focus on both, you know. I really tried, like the first couple of years, I really tried to focus on the sound and didn't even do any marketing at all. And right now, I'm kind of like um, producing less and focusing more on the networking and the marketing and the exposure, you
Mm-hmm.
know. Yeah, but first I had to make sure the sound is at least decent, you know,
Mm-hmm.
at least decent, you know. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So like for you, what exactly like do you consider marketing? Because you mentioned networking. So like what's that experience like so far?
It's been a long process, I think, but a good also a good one. Like I learned a lot. I learned a lot about myself too. Like and you grow personally because like most producers are like introverts. You know, they just want to stay
Yeah.
at home in the bedroom studio cooking up and um, don't really like big crowded places and stuff. But I had to force myself, you know, I had to force myself to go like to networking events and like just walk up to people and talk to them, you know. Cold turkey, you know, no, yeah. So I think it's good for your personal development, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like and you never know who you can meet. One person can know can already be the right person, but they can also know the right person, you know. So it has been really valuable, but also a long process. Like I live like all the way in the east of the Netherlands, and like so on the border with Germany, which is like there's no creative scene here, you know. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's so small. Everything happens in Amsterdam, which is all the way to the west, you know. So it's um, going like every couple of weeks or every couple of months, you know, taking a 2 hour drive to Amsterdam, networking, driving back. Sometimes you find someone valuable, sometimes you don't. So it's like a long grind, you know, long
Mm-hmm.
grind. Yeah.
Real quick, I want to take a brief pause from the episode to share something that can genuinely help you if you're a producer. Most producers spend hours scrolling through Spotify or Instagram trying to find artists that match their sound. The problem is that most of the time, you're searching blindly and hoping you come across the right fit. That's where Producer Fury comes in. Producer Fury's Finder tool helps you discover artists in your specific niche based on how they sound. You can also filter artists by Spotify monthly listeners and Instagram followers, making it easy to find artists that fit the exact stage of growth you're looking to work with. Check out Producer Fury for yourself. Click the link in the description and use promo code ESTE407 to get 20% off your membership. Now back to the episode. That's pretty common, especially with like artists, even artists or producers who are in areas where there's just not a scene at all. So how are you even like finding these events? Are you just going on Instagram? Like if you had to give somebody a tip, like, hey, if you want to look for an event, just do this. Like what's kind of like your deal?
Definitely Instagram, man. Yeah, like
Mm-hmm.
it's maybe in the beginning it's hard, but there are pages that post that kind of stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Sometimes you come across them by by accident, let's say. But Instagram helps out because the algorithm knows you're a producer. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
but also people who plug you, like, yo, check out this event, this event's coming up. So maybe that's interesting. So, yeah, I think your network is really important and just trying to find those pages that post that stuff. And right now I'm also in art school, and that also really helps out because there's a lot of people who know the right places to go, the right networks to attend. So yeah.
Yeah, no, art school is just like an environment, and once you put yourself like in the right environment, you're gonna get plugged in from a lot of people because a lot of
Yep.
people are on the same page as you.
Yeah, definitely.
So, who right now, right, like that you can think of is inspiring your sound and why?
I think still like Travis Scott and Don Toliver, they still hold the throne for me, like they really got that melodic trap sound on lock, and I really love the melodic trap sound. And also there's a lesser known guy, but like he's crazy. Killy, he's from Canada.
I
Like
know who you're talking about.
yeah, he's crazy, man. Like his sound selection, his beats are
Mm.
are insane, and yeah, he just got that melodic sound, man. Definitely got that auto tune, heavy, reverb drenched sound. Yeah,
Is there anything you learned from like their production or style that kind of like changed the way you produce?
yeah, I think so. I think so. I think the sound selection is really good from their producers. Also, the
Mm-hmm.
composition, just like the
Mm.
composition and the layering, and like it's just sounds so. Yeah, they call it expensive, Like I think
Yeah.
they use a lot of like analog synths,
Mm-hmm.
to create their sound. But it just sounds so retro, futuristic at the same time, like crazy. So it definitely inspires me to craft my sound. Yeah.
Mm. How important do you think it is for like producers to know how to compose a song when they're making a beat, not even like preparing it for an artist? Because a lot of producers probably just go verse hook, verse hook. You know what I'm saying? Instead of verse hook,
Mm.
bridge, you know what I'm saying? There's many ways you can like flip it, but like from your
Mm.
side, like is composition important to you, or do you kind of just make the beat and let it go where it goes?
I think composition is very important, but less in trap, I would say. Trap is a bit more repetitive than like let's say the pop structure,
Mm-hmm.
But I think if you want to excel as a trap producer, you really need to learn like how to structure properly, how to even build bridges, how to make a bridge, um, and you want the artist to catch a vibe, but also keep it, on the track and not like get out of it because you didn't sequence or program the beat, properly. So I personally still struggle with like a proper, arrangement. Like sometimes my arrangements can get a bit too repetitive, so it's also a thing that I struggle with. But yeah, I think it is important to have like a pretty solid structure for the artist to just hop on and not like have to cut your beat and to chop it
Right.
up and rearrange it himself.
Mm-hmm. Do you remind me? Do you also record artists as well?
I do, yeah, I do. A lot
So
lately.
how much of a skill is like? Because to me, it's a major plus if you can produce, mix, master, and record. Because you're like a mini studio,
Definitely.
you can go anywhere. So how much
Definitely.
of a plus has it been for you to be able to like record artists to your beats?
Bro, a big plus, bro. Like,
Yeah.
at first I didn't even want to learn it, like to record. I was so focused on the beats, and I was like, nah, man, I just want to make beats all day, and that's the only thing I want to do. But I got like a coach, a mentor who really pressed me, like, learn it, learn to record artists. Trust me, you need it. And so I did, and in my first session, I sucked, I didn't know how to manage the hardware, how the interface worked, how to properly do it in the DAW, in FL. Um, yeah, but you learn so much, and the second time it goes a bit better, but you still suck kinda. But you learn and you grow, and so after a couple of sessions, yeah, you just get comfortable with it. And yeah, I'm getting better every time. So I think it's a major major plus because you're in control of the whole process. The vocal chain, the effects, the arrangement, the mix, the master. So I think the more control you have over like the creative process, the better as a producer. And then you can actually call yourself a producer, not just a beat maker.
Right, right. I'm glad you brought that up because producing to me is recording, mixing, mastering, and making the beat, and composing
Absolutely.
the song. Like that is a producer,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
So like my thing is this, whenever I talk to like producers, I'm like, hey, if you have like other skills and talents, like, like creating graphics, the mixing and mastering, whatever, you should bundle that together. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because it's an advantage. If you can do multiple things for artists, then they're going to come to you for as many times as they need you. So
Absolutely.
for you, ultimately, like, what's the biggest advantage to be able to like do all of these things as a producer?
You can, as a producer, I think your main task is to like get the best out of the artist. And you can do that the best way if you have all these skills. You can really like direct the artist behind the mic, like, no, you gotta say it this way and not that way. I need more energy or I need less energy. Uh, watch your pronunciation with this word and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, it's like you're in total creative control. So artists really appreciate that. They don't have to outsource every different task to someone else. Like yeah, yeah. So I think that's the most important part.
I think for some producers, especially in the beginning, is like they could disagree creatively with an
Yeah,
artist,
yeah.
especially when you first start like engineering and you're directing it. So, have you ever had that happen? And like, did you get over that? And like, have you got over that hump?
Yeah, I have those moments a lot, and I think those moments will always stay in the studio, like because you have like your own creative vision for a song, especially if you produced it, and you hear all kind of melodies that you want the artist to do, but maybe the artist goes a whole different way, and you're not really feeling it sometimes, so you try to like steer the artist the other way, but they don't really feel that. So you can, have a clash. You can have a clash of like artistic vision, creative vision for a song, a project. Then like, um, personality really comes into play. You really gotta keep your ego at the door always.
Mm.
Like focus on the sound over everything. And sometimes it hurts. It hurts like you don't think, yeah, like you don't feel like your creative vision really comes to fruition. But if you can manage to like um, you know, say like, okay, let's do this. Let's take this instrument out that the artists don't like, which you maybe personally really like, or let him or her sing it that way, even though you want him or her to sing it this way. Um, there can really come some great things out of that.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes you just gotta give it away. Let it go and just let the artist go their way, and yeah, some great things can come out of that eventually.
Yeah, no, yeah, the art of letting go, especially when it comes to music, especially in today's music, like the less the better is what like the consumer wants. Like the simpler, the
Yeah,
better. Like you know what I'm saying? The
yeah.
catchier, the more melodic it is, the better. So I know you mentioned like kind of just putting your ego aside for like the sake of like the sound of what the artist like wants. Is there like a particular moment you can recall like a situation where like that happened and like how you felt and maybe you can share as a story?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, me personally, I really grew up with like the West Coast sound, you know? So I love putting leads in my beats. Like I put leads in almost all my beats, like synthy, pretty high pitched beats, you know, because I grew up with that West Coast sound that Dre made popular and stuff. But a lot of artists don't like that, you know? Like they say like take it out, you know, take that sound out. I don't like it. I'm like for real, like that's what makes that's my sound, you know. That's like a defining factor, and I think that makes the beat a lot of the times. So yeah, but sometimes, so those are those kind of moments that I think, okay, maybe he's right, you know. Maybe just take it out, and maybe the artist has more room to breathe, you know,
Mm,
create his own melodies and stuff. Like just trust the artist sometimes, you know, and
hmm.
just yeah, trust their vision too, and just let some stuff go, you know. So yeah, just take it out and let them do their thing.
No, you said something that was really important, like let the artist build their own melodies, like because the artist is an instrument too. You know what I'm saying? Their voice is an
Yep,
instrument as well.
yep,
And sometimes you need a what you call, like you mentioned, like take some stuff away and they can fill the space. You know what I mean?
exactly. Yeah,
Especially if it's for like a consumer, somebody who's going to listen.
yep,
So I know you mentioned like you do melodic trap, right? And you kind of have
yeah,
like a lot of West Coast inspiration. But I've heard some of your beats because you know we share beats together.
yeah.
So I know you make R&B and I know you kind of make other styles as well. How did that evolve? Because I'm assuming you started with melodic trap. If not, you can correct me if I'm wrong. And then
Mm-hmm.
evolve into like other genres and stuff like that.
Yes, true. Yeah, like at first I didn't really have a vision or an idea of what my sound even was gonna be like, you know. So I just started making beats and just going by the sound, you know, like just going through sounds, and when something inspired me, I started creating. So
Mm,
uh, at first it was mostly melodic trap, but I eventually I noticed myself making some more lush chord progressions, started making some R&B joints, even some funk and pop. So gradually, just by creating, you know, just by going by ear and following what my ear likes to hear, you know, I discovered my own sound, you know. And so it's definitely not just trap, not just melodic trap. I think that's my favorite genre and my main genre, definitely. I think most beats I make are in that style, but I don't want to like limit myself to that. Like I really want to um, become a versatile producer, making pop, funk,
hmm.
R&B, you know, just as long as it's just a sound that I like, you know, that I grew up with and was inspired by, you know?
Yeah, no, they'll definitely. Versatile is huge because you can have a signature sound, but if you can just
Hmm.
be in a different pocket, you just never know who's going to find that beat. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yeah.
So I want to know this: how do producers, just from like your perspective, create their own brand from their sound? For example, you can listen to a DJ Mustard beat and you know it's DJ Mustard. You listen to Metro, you know it's Metro. So, like, you know, from your personal experience, do you think you found that as a producer where people are like, oh no, this is a Thomas beat for sure? And if so, like, you know, how do producers even like find that for themselves?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a really difficult one too, because
Mm,
like I ask myself the same question like every day, you know, because as soon as I hear a Mustard or Metro beat, I know it's them, you know,
mm-hmm,
and I want to create the same thing for myself, and I think it's a couple of things. I think like the type of instruments that you choose, and then it's just the way that you arrange them, you know.
yeah.
So I think my signature sound is starting to evolve pretty solidly. I try most of the time to go for like analog synthy sounds that you don't really know what you're hearing. You're hearing a melody, but you don't really know what it is. You know, it's not some kind of basic piano or guitar. It's like always something very spacey, with a lot of delay, a lot of like you know other sounds that are bouncing off of each other. Like it, I always wanted to sound like it's coming from outer space. You know, and and then with the drums, like most of the time I'm using that deep synth sub bass, really low, really dark, and then the hard knocking 808s and kicks and snares, you know. So I think that would be my signature sound. And then it's always like building it up, going hard, and then taking it back down, like try to make the listener float into like a post kind of chorus and then
Mm-hmm.
back, you know. So that's like the sound and loop that I'm trying to perfect. Yeah.
Mm. right now, what for you is like the hardest part as a producer? Is it just the business end, creating a sound, making beats consistent? Like right now, just overall, from both sides, not just creatively, but in terms of making this into a real business for yourself. What's is there anything in particular that's been the biggest obstacle for you?
Yeah, I think for me personally, right now, it's definitely like on the business side, it's trying to make it like a sustainable career for yourself, you know. But you also want to stay true to like your artistic vision and integrity, you know. Um, a lot of producers go the route of making type beats, putting them on BeatStars, putting them on YouTube, selling uh, non-exclusive licenses. So like selling the same beat pretty much indefinitely, you know,
Yeah,
to as many artists as they can. Um, I tried that route when I was beginning for like a short while, but it just didn't feel true to myself, you know. I just
hmm,
felt like my beats are worth more than just like a $30 license, which everyone can buy. So I have no control over what they're gonna do with my beats, and they lose their exclusivity, you know, and also their value, I think, in that
yeah,
way. So I pretty early on, in my career, I knew that I wanted to go the industry route. So only exclusive beats. They're not on YouTube, not on BeatStars. Like you have to know me personally to even get them and listen to them, you know. And I thought like my vision was like that way I can keep my value higher, you know, keep myself more exclusive, um, uh, get to know higher rank artists that really appreciate like the exclusivity, you know, of the sound of the beats and stuff. And but yeah, that that's the longer and more difficult route.
hmm,
So, you know, like in the short term, you're pretty much denying yourself a lot of income, potential income, you know,
hmm,
because you're not selling any licenses online. So you really have to build your network and grind your way up from artist to artist and maybe eventually to a label or something. But at the moment, like the biggest struggle is still, um, yeah, making a sustainable income, you know, like making
hmm.
it, yeah, a stable and sustainable career for myself. Because right now I'm still barely earning anything, you know. I'm giving away beats right now even for free, just for the placement sake, you know.
Hmm.
I'm still building up that portfolio, building up that brand until I can eventually, uh, you know, say like I'm that guy, and
Yeah.
this is the price, you know, and yeah. So yeah, that's the biggest struggle right now.
It's a bit of give and a take because I mean there are a lot of successful producers like on BeatStars and YouTube's making type beats, but then you're in a market that's so oversaturated, and then people can buy your, or excuse me, download or listen to your beats for free, or like there's just thousands of artists who are rapping over the same beat. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
But it's a give and a take because it's a model where like you can sell a bunch of the same at the same time at a low price and overall, But on the other end, like you mentioned, like hey, if you take this route, the little bit more exclusive route, the more industry route, work your way up, grind your way up, you're gonna have to build your portfolio. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Before you even get to like a major placement or whatever it may be. So I mean, to each his own. At the end of the day, like whatever
Exactly.
whatever works. Yeah, yeah, whatever works. I guess it just depends on what your goals are, like as a producer. So
Definitely.
how important is it to know what you want? Because you clearly knew what you wanted. You knew like my integrity doesn't align with this business model, so like it makes sense for me to go like with this.
Yeah.
How good of a plus is that to have as a producer to have that so early on in your career to know what you
Man.
want and whatever your vision is?
Yeah, I think it's essential, you know, like the sooner the better, because like there's no right or wrong in this game, but knowing what's right for you, that's essential, man. Like because the sooner you figure that out, the sooner you can pave that path forward, you know, and know which steps to take to walk that path, you know. So it just saves a lot of time, saves a lot of headache and, you know, uh, effort, I would say. So. I think it's very important to like really know what kind of artist you want to be, and yeah, just go that route, you know, follow that route.
Yeah, that was a bar. I'm trying to, I'll try to memorize that because I actually want to write that down. There's
Yeah,
no right or wrong in this game. It's just what's right for you. Like, you know
yeah,
what I'm saying? So
yeah,
however you want to do it. And especially like in 2026, there's so many ways to go about this because of the internet. You can literally just create your own lane. It's
Yeah,
just
man,
really a matter of how creative and how consistent you want to be. You know what I'm saying at
absolutely.
that point. So, I mean, I know you mentioned like, hey, like right now you're just giving beats away for free just for like placement's sake. I mean, how is that process, and what would you say to a producer who think like I'd never give my beats away for free? Like, you know what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
yeah. I was one of those producers in the beginning, yo. I was like,
Yeah.
yo, what the hell? I'm putting so much effort, so much time and effort and love and passion into these beats, and you want them for free? It's like I won't do that, you know. But
Mm,
um, I think that's also still an ego thing that most people have to
mm,
go over
yeah.
in the beginning because it's just the harsh reality of the creative industry, you know. It's not just music, but especially music.
Yeah.
You just gotta give away stuff for free because you have to build up your portfolio. Because without a
Yeah.
portfolio, you know, without some placements and some things that you can show off, you're just not gonna get anywhere, you know. So I would say if you can try to get over that, and on the other end you can still negotiate your way with the royalties on the back end, because
Mm,
I am giving away beats for free right now, but I most of the time I'm taking 50% of the master, which is
nice.
which is like way more valuable than a couple $100 that you can pick up for a beat
Yes.
right now. Because in the long
Exactly.
run, if you know that artist pulls through and it becomes a hit, you're gonna get way more money from that publishing, from that,
Mm,
and from those master royalties, than from that one-time payment from a beat. You know, so really try to think long term and not just short term. You know, like try to negotiate your way into the that back end, because most artists are willing to give you that if you're willing to give the beat for free. So that's a whole different ball game. Yeah.
yeah. No, and that right there is called the bigger picture. Like seeing the bigger picture. How in tune were you like in seeing the bigger picture? Like, were you looking at it since the beginning of you being a producer, or is it something you learned like overall
Yeah,
over time?
I learned it over time, because in the beginning I didn't even know how the industry works, you know, like there's so much going on the back end, you know, on the business side, you know. I had to learn about royalties, like what's the difference between publishing and the master side, you know, which side pays more and how much more, and like what are some standard rates that producer can expect from like bigger artists, smaller artists, labels, no labels, you know. And really, I really went in depth, you know, and learned and educated my way on that end, and that really helps out, you know. You like there are way more ways to like make a living off of this than just selling beats on the front end, you know, with those one way payments, you know, one time payments. So yeah, I think that's very important as a producer.
Definitely. And I think a lot of producers forget about that because of like the business models behind like BeatStars and YouTube, and you know what I'm saying? I think people see like the immediate amount you can make up front, which in the
Mm.
long run isn't not as nearly as much as like going 50-50 on splits or whatever. Well, it also depends on the song and the streams, and you know what I'm saying? But overall for sure, I think people look at the upfront money as something that could be worth more, even though in the next year or two you could be collecting way more over time. So it's a give and a trade, and again, to each his own. Like, I understand if somebody wants the money up front or if they would rather take it from the back end, you know, or both, you know. So I just want to ask like a philosophical question, but like, what's one belief about producing that changed for you?
One more time. What's one belief about producing that changed?
Yeah, for you.
Uh, like what was something that I thought about producing that has changed along the way? Like,
Yeah.
um, damn, that's a good one. Yeah, I think the most important thing that I learned is it's like it's not just making beats, man. It's not just the music. Like you're a businessman, you know, and that's something that you don't realize in the beginning. Like making music is such a small part of the game. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, you're like you're a company, you know. You're your own manager, and you have a product to sell. Even though you like that's the last thing you want to hear as an artist, you know. You just want to focus on the sonics and the composition and all that good stuff. But at the end of the day, if the right person doesn't get to hear that, like you're not gonna get that song that you dream about, you know. So at the end of the day, it's much more business than music, unfortunately. But I think that when you got the business on lock and you got that business set straight, then you can shift back and focus much more on the music again. So that's something that I, take pleasure in knowing too. Yeah.
Hmm. Does the business side of things ever take away from the creativity for you?
Yeah, it does because it takes time, it takes energy, it takes effort. So definitely, yeah, you have to do a lot of things that are not music related, but you still have to do them, and that takes away from your time to produce, and focus on your craft and hone it. So yeah, it does.
How much of your energy would you like are you giving right now and would you suggest to producers? For example, would you give 50% to the creativity side and then 50% to the business or 60/40? Like what is it for you?
I would say in the beginning, like really go just 100% on the sound. Like when you're just starting, just don't even think about the business, man. Like maybe the first year, just focus on your craft, focus on your mixing, focus on your sound selection, on the composition, the music theory, all that kind of stuff. Study the greats, try to emulate what they're doing, try to understand what they're doing and make it your own. And when you come to that point that you're like, okay, I have like enough confidence in my ability to produce and my productions, then slowly try to change that balance and go like almost maybe 50-50. Yeah, I would say somewhere around 50-50, like really stay creative, stay making music, but also get out of there, network, try to focus on your brand, build your Instagram up and like really come up with like what kind of visual brand you want, how you want to look like, how you want to be perceived, and all that kind of stuff. And reach out to artists, man, like every day, reach out and yeah.
Nice. And I know you mentioned reaching out to artists. Like I preach that. Like all the producers that I'm working with, it's the number one thing I preach. Like a lot of producers just post and wait, and it's like you should never wait. Especially starting
No.
off having nothing. It's the other way
Yeah.
around. People won't come to you until you come to them. You know.
There's like a saying, sorry, there's a saying that's like that goes like closed mouths don't get fed,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Literally. Exactly.
Yeah. So exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, no, waiting is like never an option. I mean, from my personality type, I've never waited. I've always like just done it and assumed it, you know what I'm saying? And it's worked out for me like in the long run. So I've just like been teaching people that, essentially. So for you, what has been like the what has been the results of reaching out to artists?
Man, that's like the difference between your beats staying on a hard drive or your beats coming out on Spotify eventually, So yeah, I would say recognition, artists recognizing your talent, your craft, that's always, I think, like a good confirmation that you're on the right path, like keep doing what you're doing, you're on the right path. People like it, and yeah, it can turn out to be a placement, and maybe one of your
Mm.
biggest. So yeah, we as producers, we dream of not making an instrumental album, but like getting a vocalist on there, like we make beats for the artist, for the vocalist. So we dream of having dope vocals on our and really like finishing the song, So reaching out to artists is like it's the most important thing. When you got the beats ready, it's the most important thing. Finding the right artist for the right type of beats, and getting that dope song out there, man.
So as far as like getting your music out there and finding dope artists to get on your production, how has
hmm
like producer theory come into play for you? Like, and if it has come into play, like what have you done with it?
Like the Producer Fury was the game changer for me, man.
Mm.
Like when I met Fabian and he told me about it, um, like that was the tool that artists that producers were missing to find artists and
Mm-hmm.
really bridge that gap between artists and producers, because um, if I take myself for example, like I listen to the big guys, like the Travis Scotts, the Drakes, and the Don Tollivers and stuff. But um, as a starting and beginning producer, like they're unreachable. So you gotta find like the artists underneath them, who are still coming up, you know. Um, but the thing is, most of them are still unknown to you as a mainstream listener, So I had no idea where to find them. It was really difficult. Sometimes you come across someone by accident on Spotify or on Instagram or something, then you can hit them up. But like finding a tool which you can cater to your taste and like the level of artists that you uh, want to reach and like are can realistically expect that you can reach, like that was
Mm-hmm.
clutch, man. Like that was
Yeah.
like yeah, heaven sent, a lot of placements and just connections that I have right now are from Producer Fury.
Nice. I was gonna ask a question, totally blanked. So as oh no, you mentioned like reaching out to artists that is like realistic for you to actually get a response from. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? And I think a lot of times people just want to skip all of that and
yeah.
wish they could get to whoever they idolize, and it's just like super unrealistic. And who's gonna give you the time of the day because you probably don't have the value that they're looking for anyways. So like, how important is it? I call it building it brick by brick. Like, how important is it to build it brick by brick? Start realistically with artists who you can actually reach out to, build your following, and then like go from there.
It's I think it's the most important thing for a producer to understand and yeah, because you gotta understand as a producer, like you gotta grow with the artist. You gotta build that artist up, build their sound up, and they're like your biggest marketing and branding tool at the end of the day, Like if the artist blows up, you're gonna blow up as a producer. So I think it's very important to lock in with an artist from at like approximately the same level as you, with the same mindset, the same work ethic, the same kind of sound and taste and that kind of stuff, and just build like
Mm-hmm.
crazy, put stuff out there, market it like crazy, and that's the way you climb that ladder, to the bigger artists and the bigger producers. So yeah, it's essential to know, essential.
Mm-hmm. You kind of look at it as I feel like you're talking about it as an investment. Like if you invest time into the right artist, like it'll work out for you. Like at the end of the day, the artist is always the forefront, but the producers are always the background, And what I notice about like producers in general, there are some name I call them name brand producers, like Murder Beats, Young Metro, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But then
Mm-hmm.
there's also like industry producers. Like people may
Mm-hmm.
not know them like in general,
Mm-hmm.
but in the industry they're very well known. You know what
Yep.
I'm saying?
Yep.
If you could imagine yourself being any, which do you think you'd be? You think you'd be a name brand, or you think you'd be an industry producer?
That's a good question, man. I think I dream of being a name brand, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the big dream. But I wouldn't mind starting out as just an industry producer, like in the background, Um, because at the end of the day, like I still think for me the sound is more important. So, and I'm not that type of guy that really needs to uh, be out there a lot. I don't even want to be recognized on the street or something like that,
Yeah.
Like I still don't want that fame, but I just want to work on that great music that the famous artists work on, So I wouldn't mind just staying behind the scenes and working with the big producers for the big artists, But at the same time, I do want to have like an established name for myself, Like when people hear TK, they know it's me, And when people hear the sound, I want them to know like, yeah, that's him,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, when I mean me personally, I don't think I could ever be. I wouldn't want to be a name brand because I don't know. I just it would drive me nuts if like I was eating dinner and people were like, "Can I get a picture? Can I get a picture?" I
man,
feel like it's always cool in the beginning, but then overall you see the toll on like all celebrities, you know?
crazy.
Yeah. But where do you see yourself in like the next 3 years? You know, what do you see happening for yourself and like what kind of goals do you have?
Damn. Like, I think the next couple of years are gonna, uh, I think they're gonna mean a lot to me, like career-wise. I think right now I've established myself um, pretty solidly in like my home country, in the Netherlands. People are starting to get to know me over here, and I'm working with a lot of local artists. So I think we're really starting to make a buzz this year. And I also got some placements internationally, which really helps out. So I think the next couple of years are really gonna define like my career as a whole. Like, maybe I'm considering moving, maybe to Amsterdam the the short foreseeable future, let's say. Long term, maybe even overseas to the States.
Nice.
Because yeah,
Yeah.
like I dream of working with the American artists. Like I grew up on their sound. My sound is the American sound. So I
Hmm.
don't really feel at home with my music over here in Holland. It just feels a bit out of place, and I think it's just so much better to work locally over there. So much better for your network. So much better for connecting with artists and producers to really live overseas. So. Um, if I can get the right connections in the next couple of years, like really get to know someone maybe in Atlanta or LA or New York, who knows? Uh, Maybe a spot that I can crash.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, just go for like a couple of months maybe in the beginning and really build that network, and work on songs. And yeah, who knows? Maybe eventually even live there.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Oh, that'd
like
be sick, man.
yeah.
That'd be awesome. Um, what does like success like really mean to you?
To me, it means creating like a sustainable income from my art, from my music, so that that doesn't mean that I need a rich and lavish lifestyle. Like if I can just manage to, pay my rent, and don't have to stress about that kind of stuff, then I already consider myself successful. Like I'm a professional music producer. I can depend on myself and know that I can make a sustainable, stable living off of my art. That's like I think every artist's dream. So I would say that's like the baseline. And artistically, I would say working with the artists that I look up to most and am inspired by most. The reasons that I'm doing this stuff, make getting the opportunity to work with them, for them, that's the
Hmm.
big dream. That's
Yeah.
definitely the big dream. Yeah.
100%. I mean, it's the little things, you know. It isn't even like, you know, you mentioned the lavish lifestyle, the hundreds of thousands. It's just like, hey, if I'm able to like quit my job and just do this for fun all the time,
Yeah.
then I'm winning. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
And you know what? That's always the first step, you know. And I think that's the beginning is always the funnest part. Like right now, believe it or not, you may be working really hard, but this is kind of like the part where like 3 years from now, you look back, you're like, yeah, I can't believe I was like that, you know, doing
Yeah.
this, doing that, like you know.
Yeah.
But like the journey is the best part of
Yeah.
like the success, anyways. It's never the end. It's always like about the middle, you know.
Always. Yeah.
Um, if you could go back to your 2018 self when you first started like producing, when you were like, you know what, forget school, I'm gonna do this. What would you tell yourself that could have saved you the most amount, that could have saved the most pain that you went through, you know, throughout your journey?
Good one. Um, I think I would tell myself like start learning an instrument sooner. Definitely.
Mm, yeah.
Definitely. Even though I'm a trap producer, I think learning music theory but also like knowing how to play an instrument, for in my case it's mostly the piano.
Mm-hmm.
That's like key, man. Like
Mm,
I'm just starting to really take it seriously, like making myself practice every day at least for like a half an hour or an hour, you know, just practice, practice, because um, it just opens up so much more uh, creativity, you know? Like it makes it so much easier to get your idea, the sounds that you have in your head onto your screen, you know, and you feel the music, you know, you get to
Hmm.
feel it much more than just trying to click in notes, you know, in your DAW. So yeah, I think that definitely.
No, I agree. The age we live in where you just, click and drag is convenient, but the conveniency has taken away the feel for sure. Now it's just
Yeah.
cool sounds, and I don't like it. I mean, I don't mind it. I do like it, but not all the time. And I think what I've learned is, because I totally agree, I wish I learned an instrument a lot like sooner. Now I'm barely learning how to play chords, but that alone has like helped my progressions in my music. You know what I'm saying? And what I realize is it's like speaking another language, like literally. It's like speaking sign language or like talking another language. If you can communicate in that language and you understand like what emotions would communicate just like the way words do, then like it takes it to a whole nother level. And I had the same exact feeling. Like I wished I got into piano when I was younger,
Yeah.
or guitar, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But cool, man. I have one last question for you. Um, if somebody's watching this right now and they just really needed help as a producer, they're getting started, what's the
hmm
best advice you would give them that could take them from 0 to 100 as soon as possible?
I think the most important thing mentally is like don't give in to that anxiety, that fear, you know? Like I think that's the most important part because that's like that can kill a dream, you know? So so always keep believing in yourself, stay consistent, you know, stay disciplined, work on music every single day, every day, and yeah, just trust the process, man. That's it. Then
Nice.
then it's just a matter of time.
All right, man. That's it. That is the first official podcast, first pilot. Thank you, Thomas. Tell them where they can find you. Whatever your ad is, socials.
Yeah. My name is TK808, so you can find me as TK808 on like every streaming platform, you know, Spotify, Apple Music, Deezer, I'm on all of them. Instagram is TK.808. That's basically the only social media I use, you know, just Instagram, TK.808. And yeah, that's it, man. Stay tuned. Thank you, man,
Let me
Esteban.
pause. Let
Had
me
fun.
pause right there. Sorry. Say it one more time. For some reason, you froze. I'll cut this part out. But go ahead. Your socials.
The socials. So I go by the name of TK808.
Mhm.
You can find me on pretty much all the streaming platforms, you know, just TK808. And I'm on Instagram, basically the only social media I use, and it's TK.808.
Perfect. All right, Thomas. Thank you so much. Hopefully, we'll get you for round two in the future, and then when
Yes,
we
sir.
do, let's see where you're at. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
But cool. That's it for today's episode of Producer Talk. If you got value from the conversation, be sure to subscribe and follow the podcast for more interviews with producers who are building real careers in the music industry. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you in the next episode.